I think this is a pretty neat modeling problem that deals with basically starting up a business and being able to analyze some costs. So we're told that somebody starts a business and called Schmunder-Difflin. Definitely no similarity to anything we've ever heard of. This person anticipates selling a large number of boxes of white paper. And so it's a paper selling company, and we're told the case contains 10 reams of paper, and it runs about $32.99. The wholesaler selling the paper to Schmunder-Difflin agrees to reduce the cost for each box by 10 cents for every box it purchases, up to 164 boxes. To ensure a profit, it intends to mark up the price for each box by 20%. So there's a lot of information. Now we're actually going to build an equation from this, which we haven't really done yet. Letting C be the number of cases purchased in a given month, write an expression for the price of each case of paper that Schmunder-Difflin will charge its customers. Okay, well, it depends on how many boxes the company buys. So if the company doesn't buy any boxes, then they're not going to be charged by this wholesaler. So first we're going to look at the number of boxes. Okay, then we're going to take a look at, well, if however many boxes, what is the total discount? So what does Dunder-Mifflin pay? Okay, so depending on how many boxes will determine the discount, which will determine how much Dunder-Mifflin pays, and then finally Dunder-Mifflin will do a 20% markup so that they can make some return on this. So if one box is sold, they get a 10% discount. So Dunder-Mifflin pays for each box $32.99 minus 10 cents because they get a price reduction for having purchased one box, and so that means that they're going to pay $32.89 for that box. Now with a 20% markup, well, basically I need to make this 20% bigger. So to do that, I'm going to multiply it by 1.2, 100% of the full value plus 20 more percent of $32.89, and so I'm going to figure that out in my calculator. What is 120% of $32.89? And I get $39.47. So about $39.47. Okay, perfect. So what if, for example, we bought 2 boxes? Well, that would mean that we get twice the discount because we're getting 10 cents for a 10-cent discount for each box we buy. So that means we wouldn't pay $32.89, but we pay $32.99 minus 20 cents because that's the total discount Dunder-Mifflin gets, Schmunder-Difflin, excuse me, and so we subtract off 20 cents, and that gives Dunder-Mifflin, Schmunder-Difflin. Gotta make this correction here. Getting myself into a little bit of trouble. So that's going to be $32.79 per box, and so with a 20% markup, $32.79 will Dunder-Mifflin, Schmunder-Difflin will charge 1.2 times $32.79, and that will come out to $39.35. So they will charge $39.35. Okay, so what's the pattern we're noticing here? Now C is the number of cases purchased. So if I purchased in the same style, if I purchased C boxes, then what kind of a discount would I get? Well, if C is 2, then it would be 2 times 10 cents. If it's 1 box, then it would be 1 times 10 cents. So if it's C boxes, it would be C times 10 cents. Or more simply put, 0.10 times C. Now what am I going to do to figure out the SD price, or what they pay? Well, they're going to pay $32.99 minus the discount that they get. So for C boxes, they're getting 0.10 times C. That's what they're paying for each box. Okay, well now this is what they pay, so they're going to mark this amount up by 120%. So whatever this is, like just like we did here, we took the final amount multiplied by 1.2 multiplied by 1.2. So right now this is our final amount. Once we've reduced the price by 10, the C multiples of 10 cents, we're going to mark that full amount up. 32.99 minus 0.10 C. We just don't know what C is because it depends on how many boxes they buy. So we know that 1.2, we're going to go ahead and distribute this to make it a little bit simpler to read since we are dealing with variables here, times 32.99 which gives us 39.59 about. So that's how much they would mark up just for the original price, but they're also going to mark up this side of it. We don't really have to worry about what that exactly means. We just know that we're marking up the overall discounted price by 10%. So 1.2 times 0.10 is 0.12, and so we get 0.12 times C. So this is our basically answers part A, letting C be the number of cases purchased in a given month. This is the expression. Now this is not an equation. We don't need to write an equation. We're just expressing the cost that, the price that Schmunder Difflin will charge its customers. Okay, so in B we're building on this. SD hopes to sell all the boxes it buys from the wholesaler. What will be SD's total revenue from sales? Note, revenue is units sold times price per unit. Okay, well let's elaborate on this table a little bit. So we know that if the number of boxes sold is 1 and 2, then the after markup, what they're going to charge is $39.47 and $39.35. So $39.47 and $39.35. This is the SD charge. And we know that if they sell C boxes, they're going to charge $39.59 minus 0.12 C. $39.59 minus 0.12 C. Okay, so this is our symbolic way of writing what SD will charge because we don't exactly know how many boxes this is. So we're trying to make it as generic as possible. And now we want to figure out, well, what are they going to, what's their total revenue? Well, if they charge $39.47 for a box and they only sell one box, well, then they're going to sell 1 times $39.47, or their revenue is going to be fairly small. They're only going to make $39.47 in that 1 month. If they sell 2 boxes at this rate, then they are going to basically earn a total of twice that amount, which is 2 times $39.35, which is $78.70. Now maybe you can see this, but the actual revenue, even though their revenue is increasing, what they're charging is decreasing. So while this number is getting bigger, this number is getting smaller. And so what's kind of happening is that the revenue is increasing, but it's not increasing by as much anymore. It's not increasing by $39.47. It's increasing by $39.35. So this is kind of interesting because you might say that the more boxes sold generates the bigger revenue, and it does, but up to a certain point until we start charging too little, and then our revenue will also be fairly little. Okay, so what about here? If we sell C boxes and we charge this, then that means we're going to basically earn this C times. So this is our symbolic representation now. And I can again distribute here, distribute that, and I get 39.59 minus times C minus 0.12 C squared, because I have C times C. So this is just quantity times price per box. Alright, well this is my revenue function. This is what they're asking me to find in terms of what my revenue will be. Okay, so this is my revenue as a function, and this is going to be in dollars, as a function of what I charge. Or sorry, the number of boxes that I sell. So I'm going to have C boxes, I'm going to have R dollars of revenue. So that's really it. Notice how we took it step by step here, and we built the equation by kind of observing what the pattern is, and then by making a generalization, and then using that generalization to help us build our final equation. Now we want to find R of 100 and explain what that means in real world terms. Okay, so we'll do that next. So in part C, we want to find R of 100. So I'm going to plug in 100 into this equation. 39.59 times 100 minus 0.12 times 100 squared, and that's going to give me 27.59. So if I sell 100 boxes, then my revenue is going to be $2,759. Very good. So this is just in terms of my revenue selling these boxes of white paper. And now I want to find R prime of C and explain what that means in real world terms. Okay, so we know R prime of C will be based on the original revenue equation, 39.59C minus 0.12C squared. And so to find the derivative, now these are in opposite order, it doesn't really matter, you can rearrange, put your negative 0.12C squared in the front, put this in the back, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to multiply by 1, subtract 1. I'm going to multiply by 2, subtract 1. And so I get 39.59, C to the 0 is 1, so I'm not going to put that down. 2 times negative 0.12 is negative 0.24. 2 minus 1 is 1, so I just get 39.59 minus 0.24C. And if you prefer, negative 0.24C plus 39.59. So what does this give me? Well, C is boxes sold that Mat213 sells. R prime of C is the rate at which I generate revenue. So this is just a slope. So since my output, my original output was dollars of revenue, and my input is boxes sold, that means that R prime of C is going to give me the dollars of revenue per additional box sold. So dollars of revenue for each additional box sold. Now don't let this confuse you, because it's not the average revenue for each additional box. It's the anticipated revenue that I'll get for selling another box. Okay, so we want to find R prime of 100 and R prime of 150, and then in real world terms, what happens to revenue as the number of cases sold increases. So we can only do this up to 164 boxes. The wholesaler is basically not going to continue to make this discount, because at some point they start to lose money also, but they want to give Mat213 an incentive to buy from them. So we're going to find R prime of 100, and R prime of 100 will be negative 0.24 times 100 plus 39.59, and coming to my calculator, negative 0.24 times 100 plus 39.59, well, that only comes out to $15.59 of revenue for the next box that I sell. Well, you might say, oh my gosh, well, I thought we were getting a bunch of revenue for each of these boxes, but because I've discounted it so much, I've also marked it up, because I've received it at a discount and marked it up. Well, eventually all those discounts start to reflect in your revenue, and so now the revenue per additional box is actually going down. Let's see what happens if I get this discount for 150 boxes. I just come in here and figure out what's my revenue for each additional box after the 150th box. So check that out. For selling one more box beyond the 150, I'm only making $3.59 per box. Now I'm still making revenue, and I'm still selling it above my cost, because my cost is basically, this is marked up 20%, so I'm still making money, but I'm not making money as fast anymore. Each additional box is not creating as much revenue as it used to, say, for 100 boxes. So we could say that as we sell more boxes, our additional revenue generated for the next box gets smaller and smaller and smaller.